Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's episode of the Tech Talk. Today's episode is going to be a very interesting one. Today, we're going to be discussing there is more to tech than just coding because a lot of people happen to think that when we talk tech, we always need to associate it with coding. But I have Katie with me, Cathy Moya with me on today's episode of the Tech Talk to help us bring clarity to things. Hi, Katie, and welcome to the Tech Talk show.
Hey, Kazeem, thank you so much for having me here. I really appreciate it.
We will kick things off with an introduction. So, can you tell us a little bit about you and what you do?
So I am kind of a, a unicorn in the technical field. I came from a theater arts background, and then I moved into doing, parts of technical theater, and then I moved into environmental politics, where I learned about a lot of technology things. I taught myself DOS just by playing around on the computer. And then I went into teaching applications, and then I went into teaching networking, and then I came to Microsoft. So I've been at Microsoft 20 years now. I've never coded at Microsoft, but I've had a lot of jobs that I call code adjacent, where I'm really helping products and helping the code that people write come to life. So I've done things like worked at Microsoft training and certifications team. So teaching other people how to use the code. I have worked as a technical writer, also helping people use the code. I have worked on Microsoft mice and keyboards. Helping people use the hardware, which, has software components with it. Um, and currently I work in the Microsoft mixed reality team where I work on the HoloLens. And again, not coding.
Referring to your LinkedIn, the banner on your LinkedIn banner, right? That there's
Mhm.
more to tech than just coding. And I felt, wow, it would be a really interesting topic to discuss. So maybe we should begin with that. There's no doubt that tech field is very vast, but a lot of non-techie people still have that assumption, that belief that when you come into tech, you have to do some sort of coding. But I have you on the show today, and you've given us a little bit of your background. So, can you tell us, please, why that assumption that tech is only about coding is a wrong one?
Well, I think people kind of simplify. You go back to the most basic component, and yeah, there's code in so many things we do. You can't buy gasoline or muffins at the supermarket without having some kind of code involved, because there's really tech in everything. So if you get down to that level and say, yeah, learning to code is a great thing. And I'm not against coding at all. I think it is great if everybody would learn to code. But what I found along the way is that not everybody's into coding, not everybody's brain kind of works with that coding. And it's not required that everybody do the coding, because there's so much more that has to happen before the code can make it from somebody's office or home office out into the world. And so it's kind of been simplified in a lot of ways, where if you look out there, you will find girls who code and women who code and Black women who code and Codes and all these fantastic organizations, because, we really do want to see women more represented in the coding industry, and people in general, diverse people, BIPOC people in the coding field. And that's great. But, the other message I want to say is that if that's not for you, if you try coding and say, yeah, if you don't want to go off and major in computer science, that's okay. There's still a place for you in technology, because there's so much other work that has to be done as part of the life cycle of code and its use in the marketplace, in the technology place.
Now, the trend or the talk of the town now, even more than ever before now, is that everybody will need to come into coding, or everybody will need to switch career into tech. So I want to get your take on this. What's your take on this one?
So when I started looking for organizations out there that help women with some of these code adjacent jobs, I really wasn't finding everything. So what I was finding was, women who code, or I was finding women in tech. And the more I've thought about that over the years, the more I don't like that phrase, because I really think that anybody who is working in a professional capacity is working with tech. So the idea that, you can be in tech or not in tech. I mean, I guess if you're really just going out and, and digging a ditch somewhere, that thing of, shovel in dirt. Okay, there's maybe no tech there. But my parents were cranberry farmers for a while, and so the actual harvesting, maybe not so much tech, but all of the processing of the cranberries, yeah, there's technology that's happening there. If you want to be in fashion, there's tons of tech in fashion, and how we're designing things and how we're using computers to do the types of communication. So, I don't care if you work at an insurance agency or a meat packing plant, there's going to be technology in there somewhere. And I think it's important to say that, modern business is involved with tech. So it's not that you necessarily have to move career and stop working at an insurance company and go to work at Microsoft. Really, it's about what is the tech within that insurance industry, and can you find that and capitalize on that? Find the things that you love and find the tech in it. And that, I think, is going to keep you in, in a more job secure field. And hopefully, you'll find something to love with that, and really let that, inspire you to do more, because now you have all this technology at your fingertips.
So let's talk about coding just for a little bit. I mean,
Sure.
when you have to code, creating and launching applications require other areas of responsibilities, right? And there are so many areas, there are so many skills that in tech that does not involve coding. So, given that you've worked in the tech industry for a long, for a long time now, so do you mind to share some of these no coding roles in tech, for the benefit of our non-tech listeners?
Sure. And if you think about different scope of things, like if you just want to write your little app and maybe put it out there as, as freeware, shareware, open source, that can be a one person operation. And so, you're writing it, you're probably writing the documentation yourself, you're figuring out the release pipeline to get it out into something like a GitHub repository where other people can see it. But the larger the operation is, the more people who become involved in all of these processes. So, in a large company, enterprise level company, you're probably not having some developer just sitting there starting down and writing code in a vacuum. There is customer research that usually needs to happen. And so you might have someone like a program manager or a product manager or a product marketing manager who is looking at the marketplace and saying, is there a need for a new product or a new feature for this product? And if it's an existing product that's already in market, then you may have people talking to the customers who are using the current version and saying, is this meeting your needs? What challenges are you having? And trying to translate the customer pain or the industry pain into some kind of requirements. And then that technical person can sit down and translate those requirements to the coder so that we're going to code the right thing. I've worked on teams of customer experience engineers who are doing a lot of that kind of work, of taking the product that actually exists and figuring out where it's not meeting the needs, and then working very closely with the engineers to say, yeah, I know you think it should be this, but really they're never going to be able to use it like this. You need to make it like this. And then the coders can go out and use all that amazing brain power to really develop something that's going to fit the need and it's going to work. But then along the way, okay, now we still have the people who are working with the coders who are going to help that code be born. They're going to be people who make sure that the code meets all of the shipping requirements. So there are concerns like security and privacy. There may be concerns about making sure that there is consistency across the product. And some of that work might be done by the developers, and some of it might be done by other people, program managers, project managers, that type of thing. So then, you have the product, you have some kind of vehicle to ship the product. There are usually a lot of people involved with taking that code and making sure it reaches a place where people can use it, whether that's being sold or some kind of a larger kind of open source community. Then along the way, you needed people to document the code. How does the code work so that somebody can pick up the manual? Hopefully people read the manuals because I've written them and they're important. or maybe make the YouTube videos that are going to go with it. And then, people who are going to help customers implement that, because just because you wrote the manual doesn't necessarily mean people are going to read it. So you may have technical consultants who are going to go out there, and technical salespeople. Actually, first there's a whole sales cycle. If you're selling this, how do you get people to know about it, market it, and deploy it? And then, just the people using it in the environment, they have to be trained on it. They have to know how to make it work. So it's a lot.
So, in trying to close out now, what's your advice for any newbies out there, be it female or male now, considering a career in tech? What advice do you have for these people?
And I actually do talk to people more so before the pandemic, but we have some great organizations that go out and work with schools in the Seattle area, like Ignite Worldwide goes out, and so I will go and talk to girls with this, and the advice applies to everybody. I say, when I was young, when I was the high school age of these girls that I talked to, they were still telling women like me, you should learn how to type so you have something to fall back on, meaning that we could be secretaries. And well, typing is not a key skill anymore. Everybody should be keyboarding, right? And they're teaching keyboarding to everybody in classes. But what I tell girls is, you really should learn how to code. I know I sound like I'm contradicting myself, but if you learn to code, you will have something to fall back on. If you even learn just some basic HTML end to end, and you can learn that for free on the internet, that's something that can open doors for you. But the other thing I say is, if you don't like coding, try it out. But if you don't like it, don't give up on tech. Find something that you love and find the tech in it. So I mentioned fashion. I don't know fashion, but I know there's got to be a lot of tech in there, and things like drafting, the patterns and all of the commerce that's involved in getting garments made. There's a lot of very intelligent sewing machines and fabric production out there. In theater, I was working with computerized lighting boards, and we were doing computerized design. So, whether it's audio or insurance, like I said, if you work in a business that has a lot of facts and figures, go learn Power BI. Go learn Power Apps or some of the other no-code, low-code solutions that are out there, because the more you master that tech, the more you make yourself valuable to your company, the more job security you're going to have, and probably the better your reviews and pay scale is going to be.
For people who would like to reach out now, where can they reach or find you?
Mm-hmm. I am on both LinkedIn and Twitter at Cathy Loves Tech, and that's Cathy with a C, CathyLovestech, Cathy Loves Tech, and happy to talk to you.
And let's wrap up with your last words. Any last words from you before we say bye-bye now?
Technology is something that can really help people, start from somewhere and do so much more. I think about how much more I can accomplish today in 2022 than back when I was working with my little, standalone PC back in the, in the 90s. And there are bumps, there are learning curves with any technology. I'm very into mixed reality these days, which is, I'm working in that group because I see so much potential there. So go seek out the new stuff, because there's always going to be something exciting around the corner with tech. You're never going to get bored if you work with tech.
Thank you very much. So here's what we've got time for on today's episode of the Tech Talk. So remember to subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. And let's know what you think, right? So if you're one of those that think that tech is just all about coding, so let's hear your comments down in the comment section below. So from myself and Cathy now, so it's a bye-bye, and we're going to see you another time. Thank you very much, Cathy.
You're welcome. Thanks. Bye.